A three-time 20-goal scorer goes to the net. Right down the slot. It's been done, and he scores. Going back to last season, Pasternak. Now it's 61 goals. In his last 83 games, as his one-timer finds the back of the net. Through center and on the go. Ovechkin has it in neutral towards the empty cage. He scores again. Alex Ovechkin one closer to 800. Who's the draw? Now it's a 3-on-2 for the Stars. Lindell carries up the cross ice. Landry, and they score! Glendening went to the net, redirects it. A short-handed goal makes it 4-1 Dallas. That will not make the coach happy.
What the fuck is going on?
All right, this is what the puck is going on. Steve, I got to say, that's probably one of my favorite sound clips. Makes me chuckle.
Somehow that all flows together very well in a very unintended way.
It really does.
When I put it together.
So, yeah, probably my favorite sound bite there. But this is what the puck is going on. I'm Dave Metzger in the studio again with me, Uncle Steve. How we doing this evening?
Oh, doing good. Here we are right at the end of March. Getting the crunch time, just a handful of games left. You can count them on two hands at this point. And we'll see how everything shakes out, getting ready for the playoffs.
So we have 10 games tonight, so you got to figure there's plenty opportunities again. And Steve, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If anybody had some tickets last night, we hope you did well.
We hope you listened to us and followed suit. Hopefully you did. 6-0, clean sweep of the slate. How about that?
Very nice, Steve. So that doesn't happen very often. But you know what? I think we really found some things last night that worked for us. And even a couple of things that we didn't pick that we could have also worked out. So it was a pretty good Monday evening for us. I know we woke up pretty happy this morning. So, Steve, well done, sir. We put our heads together and came up with something nice there.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I think the hockey picks have been pretty good overall for the season compared to the other things we might do. I mean, soccer's been okay too, I guess, but it's not like I'm playing super heavy into hockey, and that's probably the problem, and that's probably why they do come through, I guess. But I feel like more often than not, 3 of the 5, I'm guessing, or 4 of the 6 that I might take a stab at are actually happening and coming through. I'm just fortunate last night to get 6 out of 6.
Yeah, very nice.
We'll try a little 4-teamer tonight, see what happens.
Yeah, we're gonna go. Well, we got plenty of opportunities to do so. And I will say before we jump into this 10-game slate this evening, what can you say, Steve, about the Arizona Coyotes? That pick, that play that we like, Arizona team totals, has now moved to 10-3 since we've started playing it. I know I made that joke earlier. I mean, Arizona, the team we're riding on team totals, is getting at home a team that you probably thought wouldn't be doing it for you. They are definitely doing it for us. So, Steve, I think that speaks for itself.
They keep giving you 2.5s, and then obviously if they start to give you 3.5s, that's going to be the issue.
Right.
Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they'll stick it at 2.5. The juice says that they will, because there's always a lower juice number. We might have to pay a little bit more juice on that, but yeah.
Yeah, but
if they're going to offer you 2.5 on the Coyotes, it's an auto take at this point.
Pretty much. So if they're gonna keep giving it to us, you can be pretty sure we're gonna ride that out the rest of the way here in the studio. All right, so let's jump into it. The Tampa Bay Lightning in Carolina to take on the Hurricanes. So, Steve, when we were talking, you made a pretty good point about some plays that we were talking about, and I'll let you kind of get there on your reasoning. My first instinct here, Carolina at home, kind of looking to, take hold of that division. -1.5, you're getting a really nice plus 185 number. It is against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but Steve, the Lightning haven't been playing all that well lately. I'm comfortable with a 1.5. You're really thinking, in my mind, you're thinking the scenario of the empty netter. This is a 3-2 type of close game, and Carolina just gets one with about 35 seconds left. They send it down into the empty netter, and they cover this plus 185 number. So, Steve, this could be a pretty tight game, though. They are two good teams, bound for the playoffs. What do you think here? Tampa, Carolina?
Yes, and it's the same reasoning that I'm going to go with on Minnesota last night when we looked at that one. Tampa Bay they are losers of 4 in a row, but like you said, they're just kind of sitting in a no man's land in the standings. They're 7 points behind Toronto, 6 points behind the Rangers. They're 5 points ahead of the Islanders. So what do they really have to stress about at this point? They're going to be in the playoffs. Yes, it'd be nice to be winning, but 17, 19, and 1 on the road. They have not shown that they are a good road team. And yeah, I understand we have futures on New Jersey and everything, but everyone in the Metro has clinched a playoff spot officially. And I mean, Carolina can still be caught by New Jersey, and that's the reason why I think they can hammer or lay the hammer down at home against the Tampa Bay team, who might not be as interested. Obviously, you're going to go out there and play hard, but the motivation for Carolina, I feel like, is a lot more than the motivation for Tampa Bay, and I think that makes that an easy pick at home. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, in my 4-teamer, that's what I did. I did an alternate puck line, and I tried to really jack it up. That's going to be the one that, it's going to be the hard one to get in the play. But if there's going to be anyone who can blow out the Lightning tonight, it's going to be a team like Carolina who can do that at home, looking to run away with the Metro, clinch that thing, and then they can get on with their rest of their players and what they need to do to prep for the playoffs. So, yes, Carolina, I think, is a very strong pick tonight.
It all makes sense to me, Steve. We have Vasilevsky in goal for the Lightning and Kichikov for the Hurricanes. You know what? That's one of them rare hockey names that I don't really know how to say. I'm sure that I butchered that one. But Vasilevsky has if you're looking at goalie props, we like to touch base on that a little bit. Vasilevsky, his over-under save total is going to be 30.5. Kichikov at 24.5. So there's those numbers if you'd like to play any of that. But we're going to stick here with the guns on the Hurricanes, just kind of getting it done at home by 2 or more. So let's jump into the next one. This is an interesting game here. We have the Nashville Predators in Boston to take on the Bruins. And we're getting a call into the studio. So over-under is going to be 6.
Hello?
Your Nashville Predators are plus 275 on the money line. Boston minus 330 at home.
Sir, I'm in the broadcast. I'll talk to you later.
So let's take a look at this. I don't know. The over is going to pay out plus 100. The under is at minus 120. I don't think that I play around with the numbers in this one any at all. Steve, you said you had a little bit of a suspicion on Nashville tonight. Tell me a little bit about that so I can find me something interesting here.
Well, I think you have to look no further than the injury report there, and the fact that Nashville still definitely has motivation themselves. Although it looks like everyone that Boston had on the injury report is actually back off it now. Taylor Hall is still on there. Matt Felipe, the regular guys, but it looks like Marchand, whoever was on there before, Marchand, whatever that cast of characters is. So maybe Boston is coming into this fully healthy. They have clinched their division. They can set NHL records, so that's their motivation for most games won. They have won 7 in a row. Nashville, if you look at their motivation, which they need to overcome 2 losses in a row. Really, man, they could have made up some better grounds. Really, the teams in front of them are not playing great at all, but Nashville is not doing their best to overtake them. As they sit 5 points back behind Winnipeg to try to get into the wild card. This is almost like Nashville's last stand in Boston tonight. That's a tough one to take your last stand at. I guess if the injury report is not what I was thinking, then I can't really play Nashville on this, and I will move this from a possible Nashville play to a no play.
Gotcha. So we know Boston is a good defensive team as well. Steve, do you have – I know you said it's a pass, but I see here for the Nashville team totals, over 2.5 goals is at plus 140. So maybe if this is their final stand and they're a team that really has to have it, Boston's kind of, has everything wrapped up except for the NHL records. Could this be a spot for Nashville for 3 goals in Boston?
Maybe, but you still have to deal with Olmark and the Boston defense.
Right.
But Saros, your own goalie, keeps you in that game as well, too.
I don't know. That's tough for me. It's probably going to be.
I want to lean under, but I don't like the 5.5. But I get to your point with Nashville being able to maybe get to 3. Why do I think they get stuck on 2?
Right. Because they probably do.
Right. Better plays on the board.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here's the next game. I got a feeling is going to go pretty quick. I can't speak for you, Steve, but it's going to be maybe a possible no play for me. The Montreal Canadiens in Philly to take on the Flyers, and we know that Montreal is on the back-to-back this evening. So the over-under is going to be 6.5 here. Paying minus 110 each way. Canadians plus 145 on the money line. Flyers minus 170. And I got to think those numbers are really just because Montreal played last night. In my opinion, this might not be a popular opinion, but I like to think as the Canadians is just a little bit better than the Flyers. But that's just me anyway. So we can get some pretty good numbers here on the 60-minute line, Steve. We have plus 210 for the Canadians. If we think they can go into Philly and kind of turn it on. Easier said than done on a back-to-back, though. And the Philadelphia Flyers paying minus 105 on a 60-minute line. So I think those are probably both in play there. With Montreal going into overtime last night, that was our big one to get past. We did it. Montreal takes it into overtime. I got to say, I probably don't see that happening twice in a row, though. So I think it's going to be 60-minute line or maybe something we can find the team totals. The Canadians for over 2.5 is minus 145. And you have to go over 3.5 for the Flyers at minus 120 to get a decent number out of it. So with that being said, I have a feeling it's a no play from you, but go ahead and let me know.
I like the Montreal over 2.5 potentially. The craziest stat about this is both of these teams have combined for 5 wins in a row, which you wouldn't think. And in essence, this is a battle for 13th place in the East, as Philadelphia does lead Montreal by 2 points there. So they, a little bit, you feel a little bit better if you climb completely out of the cellar of the standings, I would think. Although no one's going to be as bad as Nashville points wise with 53. I mean, they're by far and away the worst team in the East. Yeah, I think this is a no play just because of the back-to-back. That concerns me. Montreal injuries have been tough all year, although they seem to be getting a little healthier. Philadelphia, they're still missing their same cast of characters. Konechny being the main one there. But I think a no play, but you could talk me in at the end of the day probably into the Canadians over 2.5 goals.
Yeah, Steve, I think I'm going to take a shot on it anyway at the minus 1.
Just because they are spunky, they are finding the back of the net. And, 3 goals against the Flyers isn't the hardest thing to do in the world.
No, it's really not. All right, next game, Steve. I know we have interest in this one as we both have it on a ticket, I believe. The Pittsburgh Penguins in Detroit to take on the Red Wings. I do believe we both went ahead and took a team total on that. Over under is 6.5 with the over paying out plus 100. The under minus 120. Again, with this one, I don't think I really mess with the numbers. I don't really like the matchup for it. The money line, the Penguins are going to be minus 195 with the Wings at plus 165. Your 60-minute line, though, you could probably play for the Penguins here at minus 125, getting a pretty decent number there on the 60. And the Detroit Red Wings will pay out plus 255 on that line. But I can't trust anything that Detroit's been doing. We were kind of up and down on them here in the studio, where it looked like they were going to get healthy and start to get back in their groove. That did not last long at all. They have not been playing well. They will not be making the playoffs. I don't know, Steve. I think the 60-minute line here for Pittsburgh is another good play, probably something that I would do. Let's take a look at the goaltending matchups. DeSmith is going to be in goal for the Penguins and Nedeljkovic for the Red Wings. There's another one. So the goalies are stumping me today. But the over-under for the Red Wings goalie is 30.5 save total. DeSmith is going to be over-under of 26.5. So... And here, hey, you know what, Steve? Here's something we're looking at. I think we took the over 3.5, right?
Yeah, and it was minus 110 earlier. It's up to minus 118 here on my book. So getting the better of it a little bit earlier, as that seems to be a popular play with the team total. And why not? I mean, Detroit has basically cashed it in. They're very penalty box worthy at this point, 3-7 in their last 10. And it's not necessarily a play on the Penguins as much as it is really just fading out on Detroit at this point.
Right.
And knowing that the Penguins are where they are in the standings, this, I'm not going to call it a layup win on the road, but this is definitely a game that they should win. And if they do end up blowing it and falling out of the playoffs and don't make the playoffs, then it's probably because they lose a game like this and they just weren't good enough to be in there in the first place.
Exactly.
But I think I'll trust that they're better than Detroit. And I mean, the Crosby company, the playoffs are better if they're probably in there, I would say. Than
right. So with that being said, Steve, do you turn around and take the over total goals against on the Detroit goalie at over 3.5 at plus 110, kind of the same bet. So, again, that's that angle where we've been finding lately the team total matching up with the over goals against total. So there's something you can consider as well. There's a goalie prop to be played.
So so you'd lose that on an injury, or maybe he gives up 3 fast ones
and he gets yanked. Yeah. So really an injury or a scenario like that would probably be the only way you lose that. I got to think, like you said, unless it's that scenario.
It's not like those things happen a lot.
Yeah. Where Pittsburgh scores 3 goals on 6 shots. This goalie probably stays in most of the game. This could be 4-2, something like that, in which case we'll cash that. I'm going to go ahead and take a shot on it. Play the other side of that team total there.
All right.
So, all right, here we go. Columbus Blue Jackets in New York to take on the Rangers. Over under 6.5 with the over paying minus 125 and the under at plus 105. Blue Jackets, big number on the money line at plus 330 with the Rangers coming in at a minus 410. So what does that tell you? But we're going to get to Steve here in a second. He thinks that the door may be cracked for the Blue Jackets. They do play tough. They're one of those teams where, yeah, they might be the worst in the league, but they play a little bit tougher of a game than I think most people kind of realize. So let's take a look here. Blue Jackets, even bigger number on the 60 at plus 500. The Rangers minus 250. I don't know, Steve. Unless you get lucky with Columbus, I think you're going to really have a difficult time finding good values for the Rangers. You got to go all the way to 4.5 on their team total at minus 105 to get anything really, worth it. And I don't know, the Rangers are certainly capable of scoring 5 goals, but that doesn't always happen. So I don't know, Steve. What do you think? You said that the door may be open just a little bit for Columbus. What do you think in this matchup?
I'd just be wary of the Rangers and with the fact that they earned a playoff spot last night. They are sitting kind of like Tampa Bay and kind of a weird spot in the standings, not necessarily with Toronto, who only leads them by a point, but New Jersey's probably far enough ahead of them where they won't catch them. You can't say that quite yet, but Carolina at 7 points ahead, and if they go ahead and win tonight, that's going to be really hard to catch Carolina at that point. They got 9 games left to play. Carolina still has 10 games left to play. I just feel like they're just right. They could probably coast to the end, start thinking about resting players. There's no Shesterkin listed at the moment either tonight. Who knows? They could have been partying, celebrating their playoff victory. Hey guys, we could earn a playoff spot.
We're in.
Let's go watch the game and tear it up on the town. I would just be wary of all of that. I don't know if I would want to play Columbus necessarily, but I'm going to stay away from anything Rangers. That's for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, how about this, Steve? Over 2.5 goals for the Jackets at plus 125.
I would take a look at that. That's a fair one. If you want to throw that in with the Montreal and have an El Stinky get the 3-er, then yeah, by all means, we'll probably end up doing something like that later for sure.
Right. All right, moving right along. Vancouver Canucks in St. Louis to take on the Blues. Over under again is at 6.5 with the over paying minus 130. Your under is at plus 110. So that tells you we're expecting some goals here. I could definitely see it. Both teams are minus 110 on the money line. So let's take a look at the 60 as we're going to get some values there. Canucks are at plus 135 on the 60. The Blues at plus 145. So we're getting plus numbers there. I tell you what, I think I would take Vancouver in this spot if I had to pick one. I do believe that they have picked up their game in their, I don't know what, Steve, 7-3 or 6-4 or something in their last 10 games. So they're playing a little bit better. At this point in the season, does it really mean all that much? No. They've gotten themselves back to, I don't know, I would say the middle of the pack in the league. So just kind of a under the radar season for them. Again, you got to think, this game doesn't really have much meaning for either of them. So I don't know, Steve. I kind of like the Canucks there on the 60, getting a good number. Let's see here. Goalie props. Jordan Bennington is the only goalie that I see at the moment. So it looks like our goalie props are going to be kind of shot there until we figure out who the other goalie is going to be. Team totals. Yeah, I'm not really liking any of those numbers. Over 3.5 for the Blues is at plus 105. The Canucks over 3.5 is at plus 100. I don't know, Steve, maybe an alternate over if that's the way the book is going to trend. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I like your thought on Vancouver for sure. A complete fade of the Blues, and the Canucks are actually competing a little bit here down the stretch. I don't know. No play.
That's what I figured.
I'm going to run from the hills on this one.
I don't blame you. Not much to be had there, I don't think.
I was looking for team goals total over. I can't get a 2.5 on either one of these two guys, so I'll move forward with that.
Right. All right, next game up, the Dallas Stars in Chicago to take on the Blackhawks. Over under here is at even 6 at plus 100 for the over, minus 120 for the under. Stars minus 300 on the money line. Blackhawks plus 250 for very good reason. I very much understand those numbers. The Stars minus 185 on the 60. Maybe that's the takeaway from this one. It's a little bit higher than, if maybe that was a 165, we would be all over it. But I still think you could play the minus 185 here. It's not the worst number in the world. Oh, backing me out now. Let's see here. We'll look at the goaltending matchup. Alex Stalock in goal for the Blackhawks. Jake Ottinger in goal for the Stars. Man, that makes me probably want to take an under. The Stars, I think, are going to have to do most of that themselves if you're thinking about an overplay here. Team totals over 2.5 for the Blackhawks at plus 125. We're lining up the stinky teams total here. Stars, you have to go to minus 3 or over 3.5 for a minus 145.
I like that better.
Yeah.
I'm getting minus 128 on the Stars over.
Oh, that's better.
I think that's a better play than trying to grasp it with the Blackhawks.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said,
the Blackhawks aren't putting up much resistance at this point.
No.
Dallas needs to win to match Minnesota's effort last night for sure. As there's, they could tumble in the standings in the free fall. So they need to have this win as they sit 3 points back in Minnesota. And Avalanche won 2, so they gained ground on Dallas. So really, and Dallas could find themselves back in the wild card scenario as well. But I think you get a complete effort from the Stars against the Blackhawks tonight.
So how about a reverse here, Steve? How about a under 1.5 or under 2.5 Chicago goals?
Very possible. They've only scored 179 on the year. They've lost 5 in a row. I mean, they have packed it in. If you're talking about teams late in the season that have mainly, maybe giving up is a strong word, but
under 1.5.
They don't have much motivation.
Under 1.5 at plus 155.
Not good enough. I'd want 3-1 odds for any team to get 1 goal.
Right. So you're under 2.5 there is going to be minus 165. So beware of those numbers.
Wow.
There as
yeah,
well.
That's juiced. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very juiced there. So probably going to be the Stars or nothing in this one. So here we go. Here's one that I like. The LA Kings in Calgary to take on the Flames. This is a 9:08 p.m. puck drop. So one that I might actually stay up for. The over-under is going to be 6 with the minus 110 both ways on that. The money line here, this is interesting. The Kings are plus 115 on the money line, with Calgary being minus 135. So we're going to get a really good number with the Kings on the 60 at plus 180. Calgary's going to put up a plus 110 there. So let's take a look at the goaltending matchup. Jacob Markstrom in goal for the Flames. Korpisalo in goal for the Kings. Markstrom's over-under save total is going to be at 25.5, while Korpisalo's is at 29.5. So something to think about there as well. I like the Kings on the 60 here. Steve, what do you think? LA, Calgary, make some sense of it.
I think there's a chance that Calgary that the Kings will somewhat want to flex their muscles here. And they are obviously right there in contention to win the Pacific. So they have strong motivation. Calgary is a team that they could see in the playoffs, but they might as well try to finish them off now because if Calgary loses tonight and Winnipeg gets a win in San Jose, then that race is going to be 6 points clear and virtually over at that point. So know that. I mean, that's kind of almost a must win for Calgary and to have to root for San Jose when they host Winnipeg tonight. The Kings are just good. They're a good team.
They are.
They're better than Calgary. They should be able to win this on the road. It's a good playoff test. Calgary has lost 2 in a row at home, and the Kings haven't lost in regulation in forever. They lost a couple times in overtime, but they haven't lost in regulation in a very, very long time. I would trust the Kings for sure on the road, and I'll take them on the 60-minute line.
Yep, so we're getting a good number on that. I'm going to go ahead and throw them in on the 60 as well. So here's an interesting one. Again, the Edmonton Oilers in Vegas to take on the Golden Knights. Now, we know the Oilers played last night. Over-under here of 7, with the over being at plus 100, the under at minus 120. With the Oilers being on the back-to-back, I think if you're going to mess with numbers here, maybe you go with an under. But it's hard to say with these two. Oilers minus 120 on the money line, Knights plus 100. So that means we're going to get a good number for Vegas on the 60 at plus 145 at home. I think that's probably a pretty decent play there, something we might take a look at for the evening.
Rewind real quick. You are getting a 2.5 for the Kings over team goals.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. What's the number on it?
Minus 150, but if you're doing a parlay,
Yeah,
I feel like you could add that in easily.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. All right, Steve, good update there. So let's take a look at the goaltending matchup, and then we'll turn it over and see what you up. Jonathan Quick, only goalie of record tonight. He has been on fire there in Vegas. So, again, that kind of keeps me away from the over total. With these two teams, I think an over is certainly possible, but I would be more comfortable with it if they were both coming in fresh and not the Oilers on a back-to-back. So, Steve, what do you have here for Edmonton, Vegas? I think there's a couple possibilities here.
The back-to-back scares me for Edmonton because they had a hard-fought game last night with the Coyotes. Vegas has been good. I mean, what else can you say about it? They've been very good. In fact, they've stretched their lead over Edmonton here in the last 10. Actually, Edmonton has closed the gap just a hair, but they both won 8 games in their last 10. The one difference is that Vegas lost 2 of those in regulation. The 2 losses by Edmonton, 1 came in regulation, 1 came in overtime. But Vegas has won 4 in a row. Good record at home, 22-14-1. Edmonton has a nice record on the road, 22-11-3. I could see this being an over game for sure, but Edmonton's going to be, you would think, tired. I don't think they probably partied last night in Vegas. But at the end of the day, I think it's just a good game, and I'm going to pass.
All right, I got a pass there from Steve. All right, so last game of the evening, the late game. This is a 10:38 p.m. puck drop. Steve, I know for a fact that you will be staying up late for this one. You're probably going to watch the whole thing, wake up very tired tomorrow. The Winnipeg Jets in San Jose to take on the Sharks. The over-under is 6.5, with the over paying plus 100. Minus 120 on the under. The Jets are minus 205 on the money line. Sharks going to be at plus 175. So we'll take a look at the 60. The Jets minus 125 on the 60. I like that number. I don't see the Sharks giving them too much of a fit. Although, you never know this time of year. There are teams trying to play spoiler.
So this might be a late night tonight. just because I'm looking for some 2.5s and some weird, crazy stuff to put together in this El Stinko little play I got, I'm going to throw the Sharks in there over 2.5 goals at home tonight.
Oh, there you go.
Because this is the kind of game where Winnipeg needs it and they'll lose.
Right. Yeah, we've seen that from them before. So we have evidence of that. That is not just nonsense being thrown out there. We've seen it happen before. Connor Hellebuck is going to be in goal for the Jets, while James Reiner will be manning the cage for the Sharks. If you want to look at some save totals here, over 26.5 for Hellebuck is minus 120. That's going to be the over-under number, though, 26.5. Reimers is 27.5. So very similar there. If you want to go with some over totals, though, for the goals against, Hellebuck over 2.5 goals against is at plus 110. James Reiner over 3.5 goals against at plus 115. Definitely, I think the goalie props here, the door is open for those as well. So let's take a look. That's going to do it for the slate tonight. 10 games, and we actually we went through that pretty quick, Steve. So we're on a mission here. Let's take a look at these hopefully refreshed future numbers, which I'm doubtful that they are, but we're going to look anyway, just because that's what we like to do. Division winners, everything pretty much the same. The Wild are at plus 290 now. The Stars at plus 290, while the Avs are at a minus 125. Anything for the Central, Steve?
No, the only futures I have are the Minnesota one, so you might as well just kind of ride out.
Yeah.
I think New Jersey's going to ruin that at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you're getting a plus 750 number on them now.
Yeah. They're growing.
So big number there. Rangers 25-1.
Their effort last night on the Long Island did not help.
No, not at all. So we'll wrap up with the Pacific Division. The Kings at plus 230. Oilers 10-1. I don't know. Kraken.
I think you can still take. If you want to do a 2-gamer parlay, you could probably just take the Wild and the Kings.
Yeah, that might not be a bad play.
You're not going to get a huge payout, but maybe if you put $100 down, you'll get
you get something.
A good $800 back or something.
All right, so Steve, give me some picks for the evening, and then we will go ahead and get out of here.
We'll go ahead and do one. We'll do 2 different plays. We'll do one play with the Penguins over 3.5 goals. We'll take Carolina minus 2.5 on the alt line. We'll take the Kings 60-minute line, and we'll take the Stars, I think is the other team I got. Yeah, the Stars 60-minute line as well.
Excellent.
And then I'll do another one with I'll just take a stab with what we said. Well, I'll take a stab on over 2.5 Columbus goals, over 2.5 Montreal goals, over 2.5 Sharks goals, just to throw that in there, over 2.5 Kings goals, and over 3.5 Stars goals. And that pays 20-1 odds.
Nice. Yep. All right, so we got some. It's a team total kind of night looking like.
Yes.
So Steve, I'm going to go with over 2.5 for Montreal, over 3.5 goals against the Detroit Red Wings goalie tonight, over 2.5 for the Jackets and the Kings 60, and we're getting a pretty nice number there on that. All right, well, that's going to do it here for the Tuesday installment of What the Puck is Going On. Short slate tomorrow, 3 games, so you can figure a little bit shorter of a show tomorrow, but we'll find it. We will find the angles on the short slate. All right, if you got any tickets going or thinking of any plays, hope we have helped somewhat and have found a couple angles. And we'll see you right back here in the Deep End Broadcasting Studio for Wednesday's What the Puck is Going On.
Good luck.